Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and hello and welcome. Welcome to Johnny and Clyde, the Rocketman Big Book Study Podcast. And we're just two alcoholics, two sober alcoholics, reading and studying the Big Book together, like Joe and Charlie did back in the day. So let's start with a moment of silence, followed by the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now we're going to have Lindsay come in and read the set aside prayer for us.
God, today help me set aside everything I think I know about you, everything I think I know about myself, everything I think I know about others, and everything I think I know about my own recovery, so I may have an open mind and a new experience with all of these things. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Okay, in 1970, Joe McHugh introduced Charlie Pierce, the AA and the Al-Anon convention. Joe and Charlie soon discovered that they both shared a love for the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. They started traveling between their homes and discussing the Big Book, and it became a regular event. You see, Johnny and Clyde, we met in the Zuku in 2022 and also discovered that we loved reading and studying the Big Book together. And after a while, someone asked us to do this podcast. So that's why we're here today. We meet here every Sunday at 2 p.m. until 3:30 Eastern Time in this room. Please have your Big Book ready and available and handy so that you can take notes. And you might want to underline and highlight things as we all study together. We will be recording the audio for these meetings so that we can share them with others. You could go to our website at thezooCrew.org. The podcast is usually available by Tuesday or Wednesday. So the purpose of this Big Book study meeting is to help you when you're meeting with a prospect or what we might call a sponsee, or just talking about sobriety in general. See, we want you to be armed with the facts about the AA program and yourself, because freedom from alcohol comes through taking the 12 steps and working with others. Page 15 of the 12 and 12 tells us what the 12 steps are. The 12 steps are a group of principles, spiritual in nature, which, if practiced as a way of life, can expel the obsession to drink and enable a sufferer to become happily and usefully whole. How soon do you want to be happy, joyous, and free? We suggest that you purchase a copy of the Big Book for future use if you don't have one. You might want to underline, highlight, or take notes as we study together. Please order your AA literature directly from AA so that the money goes to Alcoholics Anonymous and to ensure that you get a good copy. Here in the original Zuku, we are not advocating that you rush through the steps, but we highly suggest that you have a sense of urgency in taking the 12 steps and have them become a way of life sooner than later. Act as if this was a matter of life and death, because it actually is a matter of life and death. Once again, how soon do you want to be happy, joyous, and free? You could go to our website at thezooCrew.org and order a copy of the Big Book as well as read it online. Now, the Big Book is our basic text, and it contains a full recipe for recovery. It's impossible to find a loophole in the Big Book that excludes you from being a member of AA. So today we're in the chapter, working with others. We're in the bottom paragraph of page 96. And right now we're going to have Clyde bring us up to speed on what we've read so far, and then we'll start reading.
Okay, thank you, Cuzin. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm an alcoholic. My name's Clyde. Glad to be here with Cousin Jonathan hosting this Big Book study. And we're in chapter 7, working with others, which is all about the 12th step. And we're on page 96, and I just want to recap the key things from a couple of preceding paragraphs. We're picking up today at the bottom paragraph, he may be broke and homeless. But before that, up above, I want to point out toward the top of the page, it says, you're looking for someone, search out another alcoholic, try again. It says, you're sure to find someone desperate enough to accept with eagerness what you offer. So here's what he tells us. We find it a waste of time to keep chasing a man who cannot or will not work with you. And you'll recall in chapter 5 how it works. Bill told us, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. So if you're dealing with somebody like that, he tells us at the bottom of the page, move on. It says if he continued to work with them, these people who cannot or will not completely give themselves, you're depriving many others who have since recovered, is what he tells us. So don't waste your time with someone that's not willing to do what's suggested here. And then the other thing is the next paragraph is to mention to the person that we're sponsoring, now that they're willing to do the work, let them know that if they want to tell their story to you, their fifth step, then great, but don't insist upon it if they prefer to consult someone else. So we don't have to be the person that listens to the fifth step of our sponsee, the people we're working with. They could share their fifth step with their priest or just another alcoholic or a friend or whoever. It doesn't have to be us, and that's okay, is what he told us. So we're going to move on now and continue with the instructions on working with others. And Cousin's going to read for us his first paragraph at the bottom of page 96. Come on in, Cuz.
Okay, I'm right here. Yeah, I'm Jonathan, and I'm an alcoholic. And this is talking about the prospect that we may be working. It says that he may be broken home and homeless. If he is, you might try to help him about getting a job or give him a little financial assistance. But you should not deprive your family or creditors of money they should have. Perhaps you will want to take the man into your home for a few days, but be sure to use discretion. Be certain he will be welcomed by your family and that he is not trying to impose upon you for money, connection, or shelter. Permit that, and you will only harm him. You will be making it possible for him to be insincere. You may be aiding in his destruction rather than his recovery. These specific instructions and things to look for, because as alcoholics, we attach to people quickly, and we really want to help them. Sometimes we could go out of our way, and in going out of our way, we don't help them, but we make it easy for them to just act up, So these are instructions. So these are the things. These are the do's and the don'ts, of what we do. And then it goes on. Now this is sponsorship here. I have sponsorship written right here. It says never avoid these responsibilities, the responsibility of helping another, working with another. But be sure that you are doing the right thing if you assume them. Helping others is the foundation stone of your recovery. A kindly act once in a while isn't enough. You have to act the good Samaritan every day, if need be. It may mean loss of many nights' sleep, great interference with pleasures, interruptions to your business. It may mean sharing your money and your home, counseling frantic wives and relatives, innumerable trips to police, courts, sanitariums, hospitals, jails, and asylums. Your telephone may jingle at any time of the day or night. Your wife may sometimes say she is neglected. A drunk may smash your furniture in your home or burn a mattress. You may have to fight with you may have to fight with him if he is violent. Sometimes you will have to call a doctor and administer sedatives under his direction. Another time, you may have to send for the police or an ambulance. Occasionally, you will meet such conditions. Wow. Let's stop right there and talk about that. What a job that we are up for when we start dealing with other humans, and trying to help them in their worst condition, actually. Talking about in their worst condition. And I really, when I look at this, I really couldn't see see this with with a prospect, but you know what? What did come to mind? I could see this. I could see it going almost this far if I'm working with a family member, somebody that I really love, because then they have like that carte blanche to come in and out, and their family and stuff like that. So yes, these are the things that I might really go out of my way and do numerous times for someone like that. But and let's get some shares. What do you guys think of this? Are you up for this? Let's read this carefully now.
I am. I like to share.
Go ahead.
Mama Bear still an alcoholic. Yeah, Jonathan, I absolutely agree with you. A family member only. These times we're living in today is so, so, so different than back then. Um, Alcoholism was a problem, but we got more problems now than just alcohol. I mean, I'm in South Florida, Riviera Beach, and when you take 95 down here, you stop at the rest areas, welcome centers. Everything is nicey nice. Even peach trees. Took a peach from a tree one time, or a plum. But when you hit Florida, they have all these warning signs for uh, people abducting. I mean, it's really down here. I mean, there are scam artists all over the place, and we've tried a few decades ago, to try to help people, and my partner winded up having his home stolen from him. So, you know, family members, yes, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. But I think maybe sometimes there's caution with that as well. But these days, it's really hard to trust anybody. Alcoholism, God's going to have to deliver you, and then you're going to have to come into these meetings to stay sober, and that's the way the game goes. Thank you very much for letting me share. Peace out.
All right. Thank you so much. And I just want to say something. You guys may remember that we read this before. We read this before in the Thursday meeting, and what we came up with is that every good alcoholic that's willing to help another alcoholic needs to have a list of resources. A list of resources. We're talking about knowing where the nearest shelter is at. We're talking about knowing where the detoxes are at. We're talking about knowing where the soup kitchens are at. We talk about knowing where the employment agencies are at. You see, because these things are available now that they didn't have so much availability back then. Do we all agree with that? So I think that right on this page, and I'm going to do this, right on this page, I need to have the number to the detox, the soup kitchen, the social service office, the welfare office, an employment agency, and a hospital. So that when people come, sometimes we have to be able to relay the information that they need, and then what happens is a lot of times we'll find out exactly what the hell is going on if they follow through on the information that we give. So yeah, just a footnote. Yeah, get these numbers and have them available. That cuts a lot of this stuff right in half. They come to you with these situations and blah blah blah, and you say, "Hey, call this number." If they call it, and they get the services that they need, the help that they need, which is like outside stuff, then good. And if they don't, then you tell them, "I gave you the information, and you don't want to use it, so I'm not going to deal with you in that area anymore." Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
because back then they didn't have all the things, all the resources that we have available now. So we need to have these numbers available when people come up with these type of issues.
That's right. And I just want to point out, you'll recall in chapter 5 how it works about thoroughly following the path and completely giving ourselves to the simple program. Well, this is part of completely giving ourselves to this simple program, doing this 12-step work, even though it's going to inconvenience us at times. this is what we have to do. He's calling us. He says we should never avoid these responsibilities. And again, in chapter 5, how it works. If you've decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, this is going to any length to get it here. To really be inconvenienced by helping another alcoholic who you are in a position to help. That's God's will for us as recovered alcoholics, to help other people to stay sober ourselves and help others achieve sobriety, even if it's inconvenient for us. Doesn't matter. We do the right thing, even though it's going to, be a nuisance for us. So. Okay.
Okay, great. Any other questions or comments about what we're reading here today? These specific instructions, and like I said, we have resources that we can offer that we can offer people that are suitable to help them out. Okay, here's another set of instructions, right? We seldom allow an alcoholic to live in our homes for a long time. It is not good for him, and sometimes creates serious complications in a family. Though an alcoholic does not respond, there is no reason why you should neglect your family. You should continue to be friendly to them. The family should be offered your way of life, should they accept and practice spiritual principles. I got to go back on that. We should seldom allow an alcoholic to live in our homes for a long time. One statement. It is not good for him, and it sometimes creates serious complications in the family. True. Though an alcoholic does not respond, there is no reason why you should neglect his family. Okay. It really switched over right there, and it's talking about and I've had this, I can identify with this. I had a guy who was helping me out, and I kept getting drunk, and I wind up getting locked up, and I was in the county jail. And I really appreciate that he would still go by and check on the family. He really would, and wow, he would go by and see how everybody was doing. He only lived a few blocks away, but he used to come by with me, come by and see me. And I was in the county jail for a couple of months, and my wife said, Brady came by a few times. Matter of fact, check this out. I was there during the holiday. Don't you know that he brought my sons some holiday gifts? He brought them like some little toys and shit like that because I was in jail, So yeah, we do become friends with the people that we're working with at times, and even when they're struggling, they still can be our friends. Did I read that right?
Yeah, you did. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. It says, though an alcoholic does not respond, there is no reason why you should neglect his family. You should continue to be friendly with them. And now it's talking about the family. It says the family should be offered. Oh, the family of the man that we are working with should be offered our way of life. Should they accept and practice the spiritual principles, there is much better chance that the head of the family will recover. And even though he continues to drink, the family will find life more bearable. In other words, they may accept the program and be able to deal with him a little bit better than if they did not even accept any of the principles of the program.
Yeah, and cousin, I wanted to share a comment here about the family practicing the spiritual principles. It told us right in the foreword to the first edition that many do not comprehend. This is in the first paragraph about recovering from a hopeless state of mind and body, how we recovered. It says, many do not comprehend that the alcoholic is a very sick person. So the family's going to learn that. And it says, and besides, we are sure that our way of living has its advantages for all. So not only us alcoholics, it's good for the family too. And that's what he just told us. It says, even though he continues to drink, that sick person, the family will find life more bearable if they apply the spiritual principles of our program. So it's good for them too. And they'll have the alcoholic, the active alcoholic will have a much better chance recovering if his family would use the tools of our program too. So good advice.
And I think that when we read this before, we talked about the connection or the relationship between sponsor and sponsee, and we questioned if your sponsor should be involved with your life. You know, if he should know your family members. You know, do you think that's I never tried that until this time. Well, no, but this time around, my sponsor really. he really knows my family. He knows my wife. My wife knows his wife, and stuff like that. And if something is really going sideways, man, you know, my wife can even call my sponsor. You know, and that's something that I used to get pissed off about and didn't want to happen. But this shit is about saving my life. It's not about my ego. You know, and stuff like that. You know, so. And that's what it's talking about in the book. It says that this sponsor knows the family, obviously, you know, and yeah, that's a good thing. And remember, remember when the question was, does your sponsor know the people that are close to you that are trying to help you? Is this a team effort? Is this a team effort? Do you want it to be a team effort? And like I say, if you're such a freaking tough guy, introduce your sponsor to your spouse if you're fucking so tough. That's what tough guys do. They allow themselves to get all the help that they can.
Yeah,
Shit is serious. Thing
yeah,
serious.
Remember, cousin, on page 90, early on in this chapter, it told us that if there's any indication he wants to stop, the person you're sponsoring, it says have a good talk with the person most interested in him, usually his wife. It says get an idea of his behavior, his problems, his background, the seriousness of his condition, and his religious leanings. So we're instructed to get to know this guy through his, or gal, this person, through their family or who's most affected by their alcoholism. We want to know all about it, make it a team effort. And so, yeah, this is a continuation of those directions.
That's right. Okay. Then it goes on. Any questions or comments about this?
Yeah, Mama Bear has
Mama
her
Bear,
hand.
come on in.
Oh yeah, all that seems so hunky dory, but from what I've seen in my life, yeah, it doesn't happen. I mean, it's all. I mean, that's me. I'm most of my life I've been in South Florida, but I don't. So maybe it's a state that you're in. Maybe it's that. But in my life, that this seems like a dream. It would be great if people really cared about it. But yeah, that's all I wanted to share. But I'm sure that every state are different, especially New York and the higher states, maybe when it's cold and everybody's got to huddle together, stay warm. Down here in Florida, everybody wants to scatter. Anyway, I love you guys and thank you for letting me share. Peace out.
Okay. All right. So goes on to say, for the type of alcoholic who is able and willing, for the type of alcoholic who is able and willing to get well, little charity in the ordinary sense of the word is needed or wanted. The man who cries for money and shelter before conquering alcohol are on the wrong track. Yet we go to great extremes to provide each other with these very things. When such action is warranted, this may seem inconsistent, but we think it is not. It is not a matter of giving that is the question, but when and how to give. That often makes the difference between failure and success. The minute we put our work on a service plane, the alcoholic commences to rely upon our assistance rather than upon God. He clamors for this or that, claiming he cannot master alcohol until his material needs are met, till his material needs are cared for. Nonsense. Some of us have taken very hard knocks to learn this truth. Job or no job, wife or no wife, we simply do not stop drinking as long as we place dependence upon other people ahead of dependence on God. Job or no job, wife or no wife, we simply do not stop drinking so long as we place dependence upon other people ahead of dependence on God. Hmm. That's the deal. That's that. That's that.
Yeah.
And then it goes on. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, you know what? I'll bring it up after the next. Go ahead and read the next paragraph, cousin.
Yeah, next paragraph is what we actually use in our no matter what script, and it says what we want to do is burn the idea into the consciousness of every man that he can get well regardless of anyone. The only condition is that he trusts in God and clean house. Go ahead, Clyde.
Well, yeah, Lindsay, come on in and share. You had your hand up, and then I'll do some commenting. Come on in, Lindsay.
Good afternoon, Lindsay. Grateful alcoholic. Yeah, I wanted to comment on, I have a friend that's one of us, but has moved into, dry goods also. And she quite consistently will ask me for money. And every single time I've told her no. But anytime that she wants to come see me, she can come in where it's warm. I'll give her food. I'll give her everything else. But, speaking from one alcoholic to the next, there's no way that I'm enabling that type of behavior because out of anybody that gets it, I understand. You know what I mean? I can guide her. I can give her the information if she requests it without pushing anything on her. But it is very important to remain in a place where you're being helpful and not enabling. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Lindsay. Yeah, I just want to point out about this job or no job, wife or no wife. I can get well regardless of anyone. So first of all, trusting God is steps 1 through 3, and cleaning house is steps 4 through 9. That's how we trust God and clean house, and that's how we get well. Okay, and so here's the definition of well. It does not include a job or a house or wife or money or a car, any physical material thing. Here's what well is. And they're called, and this is just a small list of it, but it's a big, substantial one. They're called the 9th step promises. This is what getting well is. We're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We're not going to regret the past or wish to shut the door on it. We're going to comprehend the word serenity, and we're going to know peace. This is the promises of the program. Not a job, not a wife, not money. And then we're going to see how our experience can benefit others. The feeling of uselessness and self-pity is going to disappear. We're going to lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking is going to slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. It has nothing to do with the wife and the money and the car and the house and the career. It says fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us, and we'll intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. That's what it means to get well. Regardless, wife or no wife, job or no job, doesn't matter. You can get well regardless of anyone as long as we trust God and clean house. Those are the promises that get fulfilled. That's what matters. That's what recovery is all about. Thanks.
Yep, because we as alcoholics, we think backwards. We think that we need this or that before we do it. I mean, my son came to me and told me that years ago that he needed a car so that he could get a job. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. But then when I sat back and thought about it, I was like, no, you need a job so that you can get a car. So what he was trying to do was trying to get me to help him to get a car. And then he probably wasn't going to get a job anyway. But that was the pitch. And when I sat back and thought about it, I came back and I said, no, you need to get a job first, and then start looking at a car. Oh, but I mean, he had every reason that he needed to get there and this, that, the next year. You need to take the train or the bus there until you save up some money and be able to get a license, registration, insurance, and a car. I can't work till I get a car, man. No, you can't get a car until you work. Come on in, Lindsay.
Lindsay, a grateful recovering alcoholic. I also like to point out that, I think that the unrealistic expectation that, your wife might return to you or that you'll be able to get a house back or a car back, that's not always something that's going to materialize. But what is the foundation of those 9-step promises. Thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, what we're talking about here is if I'm suffering from the delusion that having my job back and my wife back is going to set me free from and put me as a recovered alcoholic, I am sorely mistaken. That is not what is going to result in my recovery from alcoholism. Those material needs. It's the process of it's my relationship with God and taking the 12 steps and trusting God and cleaning house. That's where the magic happens. And the material needs may or may not come after that. That you could get them, you could not. It doesn't matter though, because you're recovered and you trust God and you're just totally at peace and at ease with it. You accept it as His will and you're comfortable with it. That's what this is all about.
All right, you pick up from here, Clyde.
Okay, let's do that. So we're going to do a continuation now. It says, now the domestic problem. There may be divorce, separation, or just strained relations. When your prospect has made such reparation as he can to his family, that's another word for amends, and has thoroughly explained to them the new principles by which he is living. So now he's saying, living out the spiritual principles of our program, he should proceed to put those principles into action at home. So again, Cousin Jonathan and I like to say, we don't want to be an AA angel and a living room devil. And John A. mentions it all the time too. We don't just showcase our AA principles and message and, come into the rooms and be, a black belt in AA and then go home and be yelling at the kid and fighting with the wife and kicking the dog. Some people actually do that. I've been shocked to see certain people in the parking lot by their behavior. It just blows my mind. These people during the meeting, you think they're like floating, they're levitating, they're so spiritual and calm and like the perfect program and like the envy of everybody in the room. And then you see them outside just unloading expletives and profanity and finger in somebody's face, losing their cool, acting like a complete moron, rude, immature person. And it just shocks me. It's like, oh my gosh, I wonder how that guy treats his wife if he's doing that to some guy out on the sidewalk outside the clubhouse. So anyway, we practice these principles everywhere we go, in our homes, in our offices, with our friends, everywhere we go, not just in the rooms of AA. What do you think, cousin?
Loretta's got a hand up. I got something to say, but let her go first. Go ahead.
Okay.
I won't be quick, but yeah, those reactions used to see at the church too, and even worse. So there's no exception to the rule. But for me, and my best uh, philosophy is that whatever good I do with just my the eyes of my God watching me, so I can get a reward from Him. I try to do things secretly. When even in my drunken years, I did my best to love and lift up my children verbally, and that's the best way. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're drunk or sober, but how you respect your fellow workers, your family, is makes so much difference. It doesn't matter where you are in life, but that's it doesn't matter who you are, an alcoholic, recovering alcoholic, a churchgoer, or blah blah blah, whatever. But what you do in secret is going to be seen out in pub. Is going to be seen. Thank you. That's all I got. Thank you. Thank you for letting me.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, and it specifically says that yeah, we make amends, and then we let the people that we're dealing with know what we're trying to do now. Hey, listen, I'm not drinking, I'm not stealing, I'm not lying, and I'm not cheating anymore. You know, and I'm gonna tell you one of the gifts of this program, and it didn't happen until after I followed the direction of you guys and really changed. Um, excuse me, I was talking to my wife, and excuse me, she implicated that I wasn't telling the truth, and I was able to look her right square in the eye, and say, "I don't lie anymore. I fucking don't lie anymore." And I never was able to do that. I never was able to do that. What do you guys think of that? I could look her in the eye and say, "Look, I don't lie anymore. Like what I'm saying is not a fucking lie. I don't lie anymore. That's that, you know." And yeah, man, that's what my life has become. That's it, you know.
Yeah, that's
And that's what
beautiful.
they're talking about.
It's
Yeah, that
exactly.
was beautiful.
No, that's
Yeah, I haven't been able to do that shit for 30 years.
hey, cousin,
Finally, I could do that.
that's textbook. It's what we just read. It says you made reparation, and it says thoroughly explain to them the new principles by which he is living. So you told your family, I don't lie anymore. And you proceeded to put those principles into action at your home. That's exactly what you do. Perfect.
That's right, man. True. And I thought that day I never saw that day coming, you know, where I don't put myself in those positions and I don't walk around lying. And then I haven't lied for like a year and a half. And then someone comes to me and says some bullshit. And I say, "I don't fucking lie. What are you talking about? I don't lie." I'd say anymore. But I'm letting them know I've changed. I don't lie anymore. So you can, what I'm telling you is that's what it is. Now, if you want to believe it or not, that's that. But I'm telling you, I don't lie anymore. That's that. You know? Wow. Fucking this program never ceased to amaze me. I was never able to do that. Never. You know? But I can do that today because of God and you guys. Wow. All right, come on.
Yeah. Okay. And to avoid being a hypocrite, I'm telling my sponsee that he needs to do these things and proceed to put these principles into action at home. I need to do it too. This applies to both of us practicing these principles. So I'm sharing the instructions with my sponsee, and I'm also doing the same thing myself. Key point here. So we'll go ahead and continue. It says that is if he's lucky enough to have a home. So I'm sure a lot of us are in this category. I burned our marriage to the ground, almost lost my wife and son. And I went to my first meeting and got sober just in the nick of time. So I was lucky enough to have a home, barely. Now, it says, though his family be at fault in many respects, He should not be concerned about that. So here's more instructions. It says, here's what he should do. Concentrate on his own spiritual demonstration. Argument and fault finding are to be avoided like the plague. In many homes, this is a difficult thing to do, but it must be done if any results are to be expected. So here's the promise. If persisted in for a few months, the effect on a man's family is sure to be great. So this is good. If I can just concentrate on keeping my side of the street clean and avoiding argument and fault finding. Remember, we avoid retaliation and argument, and we just go with love and tolerance as our code, and we've ceased fighting anything or anyone. Does this sound familiar to you? So we're not arguing. We're going to just be the mature, responsible adult. And if we persist in this, the effect on our family is sure to be great. I love it. The most incompatible people, you could really be getting into it with your partner, your husband or wife or partner. But if you just follow this advice, the most incompatible people discover they have a basis upon which they can meet. Wow. So leading by example, little by little. Remember that word patience? That's a key word, one of our key spiritual principles, patience. Little by little, the family may see their own defects and admit them. Remember, that was one of the 9th step promises, 8th and 9th step promises, when years of feuding melt away. When the unexpected happens, when we're calm and frank and honest and sincere, when we go to these people and make amends, where that's what we're doing here, then they may see their own defects and admit them. This is more of a repeat of the step 8 and 9 promises. These can then be discussed in an atmosphere of helpfulness and friendliness. Wow, imagine that. You're telling me that all I have to do is stop arguing and finding fault with my family and just do the right thing, concentrate on my own patience and tolerance and kindness and love, demonstrate good behavior of a mature adult, of a recovered alcoholic, and then my family may end up emulating me and copying, following. It's a copycat thing. They see me behaving like a mature adult, and then they'll start little by little doing that. It's a slow process. It takes a lot of time, but God's timing is perfect. It'll happen when it's supposed to, if I just keep doing the right thing. This is really encouraging stuff here, and it matches my experience perfectly, absolutely perfectly. Come on in, Mama Bear.
Oh yeah, that was perfect timing, because as you were talking, I'm thinking and talking to my father. I said, I wish it was somehow I had known this even 20 years ago. Um, my husband probably would still be alive. We'd have a better, but all things happen in perfect timing. And my baby sister, 6 years sober, and now one of her daughters, she's had tragic happen in her life. And but the greatest thing of promise that's happened with our families is her daughter wrote her first book, and it's under construction. And I just found out yesterday, and to me that's the promises uh, that's coming to life now that we're sober and we're working the program together. There's a big difference to work the program with other people, with your higher power. And I'm seeing the evidence. It's like heaven is finally coming to earth, and I'm being a witness to it, and not only my life, but in the lives of uh, uh, people that's working, emphasizing the program. Thank you very much for letting me share.
Okay. Thank you, Loretta. So So Bill goes on, he's a continuation of the same concept here in this next paragraph. More instructions. He's just going to repeat using different words, the same concepts, the same principles we just were told about. And and like I said, it's a copycat. It says, after they have seen tangible results, the family will perhaps want to go along. So they're going to see our behavior, our demonstration of good, mature behavior, and they're going to want to do that. We're leading by example, it's called. It says these things will come to pass naturally and in good time. Again, this is patience, involves patience. It says, however, the alcoholic continues to demonstrate that he can be sober, considerate, and helpful regardless of what anyone says or does. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's when your partner is lighting into you and giving you a hard time about something that you did 3 years ago, and he or she just can't get over it and keeps bringing it up, or whatever the case may be. They're getting on your case, and you stay calm. You're not arguing, you're not fault finding, you're not taking their inventory, you're keeping your cool. You've got some love and tolerance. You've ceased fighting anything or anyone, and you're going to respond with God's will. You're going to say, okay, God, save me from being angry. How can I be helpful here? Thy will be done. We're going to use that 4-step prayer. And it says, of course, we all fall much below this standard many times. It happens, okay? None of us are perfect. We're going to make mistakes. But what do we do in the 10th step? Of course, it says, but we must try to repair the damage immediately. 10th step, remember? Lest we pay the penalty by a spree. Whoa, that's a warning. If I don't promptly admit it and make amends that, hey, I just acted, that was inappropriate of me, please forgive me, and with God's help, it won't happen again. If I don't make amends immediately, I may go drink again. I'll pay the penalty by drinking again, and to drink is to die. What do you think, cousin?
This is so powerful because this is one of the things that I was told by you guys. Bottom line was, John, you can't walk around holding anything in. You're gonna have to, when things happen, you need to get right on them immediately. If you need to apologize or you need to talk to somebody, you need to do it. You can't be like the old way, letting things pile up and pile up and pile up until I can't take it anymore. And the next thing you know, like the book says, I'm on a spree. So it's very true.
Yeah. And these are the opposite of, remember, the selfish, self-centered, self-seeking, and frightened and inconsiderate we learned about in our 4-step inventory. Here he's talking about being considerate, being helpful instead of selfish and self-centered, regardless of what they say or do. So this is just great advice for your sponsee and you. This is how a recovered alcoholic conducts him and herself.
And it also reminds us that, non-alcoholics don't pay the way alcoholics do. We pay by eventually going out and drinking, and they're sitting on the couch, with their feet up, and we're out drinking and suffering.
Yeah, pretty big penalty we pay. So, okay, pretty clear, pretty simple directions. It applies to the sponsee and us. These are the principles that we, remember. The 12th step is, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics. So that's what we're doing here. We're carrying the message and practice these principles in all of our affairs. So we're carrying the message to our sponsee and explaining what the principles are to practice in all your affairs. And we're practicing them in all of our affairs too. So that's what this is all about. These are the principles. These are the rules of the game. So, Cousin, you want to read the next paragraph about whether we should rush
Sure.
back into our relationship or not?
Okay, let's go. It says, if there be a divorce or separation, there should be no undue haste for the couple to get together. The man should be sure in his recovery. The wife should fully understand his new way of life. If their old relationship is to be resumed, it must be on a better basis, since the former did not work. This means a new attitude and spirit all around. Sometimes it is to the best, sometimes it is to the best interest of all concerned that the couple remain apart. Obviously, no rule could be laid down. Let the alcoholic continue his program day by day. When the time for living together has come, it will be apparent to both. Common sense. We must use common sense and not rush back into old things if it wasn't working.
Yeah.
And this is very difficult. This is very difficult. Who doesn't, I mean, a guy, you know, you've been drinking, you screwed everything up. You go away to rehab or detox, and you come back and your spouse wants a separation, and you don't. You want to try and make everything right. This is very difficult. This can be very difficult.
Yeah. And I just want to point out that as we change, so first of all, I need to be sure that I'm going to recover. I'm well on my way in recovery, and I'm being changed. Remember, spiritual awakening is all these little aha moments, little changes in me and my personality, how I think and how I act, what I think, what I say, what I do is all being changed. So until those, a lot of that changing has taken place by my higher power changing me, I can't make any decision about relationship with my partner. And my wife is going to be changing too during this process. And so as these changes take place, that might point us to reconciling and getting back together, or it could end up with us better off being apart. And so that'll be revealed when the time is right. It said it'll be apparent to both parties. So either living together will be obvious, or going your separate ways will be obvious. One or the two. God will reveal that over time. So don't get in a big rush, because you're going to be a different person tomorrow and the next week and next month as you go through this process.
That's right. So let no alcoholic say he cannot recover unless he has his family back. This just isn't so. In some cases, the wife will never come back for one reason or another. Remind the prospect that his recovery is not dependent upon people. It is dependent upon his relationship with God. And we just read that back on page 98 also.
Yes.
It says that if I start to rely on people other than my higher power,
Yep.
I'm going to have a hard time. I'm probably going to get drunk. So it says, it is not, all right. Go back and read that again. It says, for one reason or another, remind the prospect that his recovery is not dependent upon people. It is dependent upon his relationship with God. Now, this is what we have seen. We have seen men get well whose families have not returned at all. We have seen others slip when their family have come back too soon.
Mm-hmm.
Both you and the new man must walk day by day in the path of spiritual progress. If you persist, remarkable things will happen. When we look back, we realize that the things which came ourselves excuse me, the things that when we look back, we realize that the things which came to us when we put ourselves in God's hand were were better than anything we could have planned. Follow the dictates of a higher power, and you will presently live in a new and wonderful world, no matter what your present circumstances.
Wow.
Words of hope that are there. And
Oh,
yeah, some of us, we've gotten things back too quickly, and that caused us to go out. You know, and then it says that we've seen people who didn't get their relationships with their families back, and they were even able to recover. And then those that got everything that they wanted were not able to recover. And I believe that as alcoholics, we always truly get what we want. So we have to be really careful what we're asking for. You know.
yeah.
Any questions or comments on this?
Yeah, this I just want to say, must walk day by day in the path of spiritual progress. That's that 10th step. Remember, this is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime. And it talks about putting ourselves in God's hands and following the dictates of a higher power. Remember, it said, these are the thoughts which must go with us constantly. Every day is the day we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. Thy will be done, not mine. When we do these things, when we live, we've completed steps 1 through 9. So we were trusting God and we've cleaned house. Now we're living in steps 10, 11, and 12. And that's where this really comes, following the dictates of a higher power. I do that through living in steps 10, 11, and 12. And then that's the beauty of all these promises in the book. It tells us exactly what to do. If I'm not experiencing this promise, if it hasn't been fulfilled, then I'm either not taking heed of a warning that Bill gives us. I'm doing something. There's do's and don'ts that he lays out. There's instructions. So he gives us directions on what to do, and he tells us what not to do and what to do. And as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to do and avoiding what I'm not supposed to be doing, these are going to be my reality. These promises are going to come true for me, and they have. And if the promise hasn't come true for whoever, then they're not following the directions. You can easily test whether you're following the directions or not. So what a beautiful place to be, though. No matter what's going on out there, my soul is at peace. It's a new, wonderful world because of my dependence on God. It's that simple. So I always tell people that I'm sponsoring, if they're struggling with something real bad, then your relationship with him is your solution. Make sure your relationship with him is right. That's the solution. The dictates of a higher power.
All right, come on in, Loretta.
Yeah, it's a sacrifice. However, we alcoholics tend to make things complicated, and but it doesn't matter if you're an alcoholic or not. It's a life of sacrifice, being able to put away and giving away and trusting, um, sacri- uh, sacrificing something that you want, you know, and then giving it away. So for me, it's sacrifice. I was just doing some studying today about sacrifice and salt and fire, and and that's the topic in my head is sacrifice. Thank you very much for letting me share. I don't know if that made any sense to anybody, but it does in my
It,
head.
it makes sense. Okay, more instructions here. It says when working with a man and his family, you should not wait. You should take care not to participate in their quarrels. Don't take sides. You may spoil a chance of being helpful if you do. But urge upon the man's family that he has been very sick and should be treated accordingly. You should warn against arousing resentment or jealousy. You should point out that his character defects are not going to disappear overnight. His character defects are not going to disappear overnight. Show them that he is show them that he has entered upon a period of growth. Ask them to remember when they were impatient, the blessed fact of his when they are impatient, the blessed fact of his sobriety. How does that sound? When this type of thing crop up, we need to be able to, if they would allow us, and if we have this relationship, first off, we don't get into the quarrels and take sides. Secondly, we remind everyone that the person is recovering, that he is, in a well, he doesn't say recovering. He puts it like this. He says that we are in a period of growth. We are in a period of growth, and it's not an overnight matter. Because we could expect and others could expect that we get well very, very, very quicker than it may be happening. So we need to let them know that we are in a period of growth, and ask them to remember when they are impatient that at least we're not drinking and move on from there. Sometimes we have to be reminded of that. Because we could take that for granted and say, hey, that the worst hasn't happened. The worst is that I go back to drinking, and then all is lost.
Yeah.
All right.
My first sponsor told me, he said, every night you get your head on that pillow sober, you had a great day. You had a great day. Just stay sober. You got a chance if you're sober. He said, Clyde, you start drinking again and it's over. He said, as long as you stay sober, you're still going to have these problems. It's a slow period of growth is what it was. But as long as I make it through the day and get to bed sober, he said, you had a damn good day. If you could just do that, and things will get better and better for you. And he was right.
Okay. Now here's we're getting right down to it now. And I'm going to read this the way that I see it, right? It says, if I have been successful in solving my own domestic problems, tell the newcomer's family how that was accomplished. In this way, you set them on the right track without becoming critical of them. The story of how you and your wife settled your difficulties is worth any amount of criticism. Wow. Wow. Yeah. That's where we get a chance to share our experience, strength, and hope on how I'm pulling my family back together, or how me and my wife are starting to get along again. And it wasn't always like that. That gives them hope. And we tell them exactly how it was done. Whether it was done, it may have been done through counseling, it may be been done through me just changing and them following along. It may have been done through through another spiritual medium like church or something like that. You let them know how you did it, because with these type of things, it may take a few different methods in order to have breakthroughs.
Yeah, the biggest thing I like to point out to people, this comes up a lot, is that, hey, how long is my husband or wife going to keep bringing up all this old stuff and getting on my case. I've been sober now for 90 days or 6 months or 2 years, and they keep bringing up this old stuff, and it's driving me nuts. I'm losing it, losing my cool. How long is this going to go on? And I told him it was 5 years for my wife to get close to getting over some of the stuff. And then by about year seven or eight, she had full, she was starting to trust me pretty completely. And around 10 years sober, I have gained her confidence, and she's gotten over everything and trusts me completely now that I've been sober over 10 years. So it's a slow process. I want to chuckle when these guys that have been sober for 90 days think their wife should back off because they're not drinking anymore. It's like, are you kidding me? 90 days, that's nothing. So it takes time. Be patient.
Yeah, and we've got to change. We've got to demonstrate that we have changed before people start treating us differently, because my family was watching how I was treating myself. And if they see that I'm not treating myself well, you know what? That's an invitation for them to just say any old thing that they want to. But when we start changing and they see that we're changing, then they start to change also. And at least listen, and listen, check this out. And even if you don't change, you're gonna change the way you're treating me. Whether you change or not, you're gonna change the way that you're treating me. And you know why? Because I'm treating you better. You get it? So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So the next section we're going to read here, this goes on for another, all on page 101, page 102. Bill's going to give us now the ground rules for an alcoholic's position on alcohol itself as an industry. Can we go places that serve alcohol? Can we have alcohol in our house? Can we go to people's houses that have alcohol there? He's going to give us the position here and the right attitude and the rule on this very subject, because you hear a lot of people asking at the meetings, can I go near, can I go here? They're going to be serving alcohol. Can I go to a bar or not? I hear people say, well, if you go to a barber shop, you keep going to a barber shop, you're going to get a haircut. So you can't go to a bar, or you're going to get a drink. And there's all this misinformation floating around. Bill's going to give us the official information now about drinking and drinking occasions and alcohol as a business, as an industry. And he's going to lay it all out for us here. So
yeah, and this is part of where we'll let people know that as alcoholics, we're not against alcohol. We're
Cuzin, we lost you. We lost your audio there, Cuzin.
not against alcohol. What we are against is ruining our lives using it. We're not against alcohol. We're not against bars and the industry. What we are against is using it and killing ourselves. That's what we're against. So
Yeah.
here it is. This is the real deal. And there's some stopping points here too. It says, assuming we are spiritually fit. Am I? Am I? I can ask myself, am I? Am I connected with my higher power? Is he guiding me? Has the obsession been lifted? Wow. That's spiritually fit. Has the obsession been lifted? So assuming that we are spiritually fit, this is what happens. We can do all sorts of things that alcoholics are not supposed to do. People have said that we must not go where liquor is served. One, It says that we must not have it in our home. We must shun friends who drink. We must avoid moving pictures which show drinking scenes. We must not go into bars. Our friends must hide their bottles if we go to their houses. We mustn't think or be reminded about alcohol at all. Wow. This is not a life. This is not living. This is not living. What do you guys think of that? This is not living.
Yeah, that's no way to, well, first of all, you can't be done. If you did adhere to all
Any
those
questions or
rules,
comments on this?
yeah, yeah, the comment,
Wait, let me ask you. Does anybody believe this still?
good question.
And if so, what parts of it do you believe? I can't hear you, Clyde.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
was, yeah, I was, Mama Bear came in.
What do you guys think it is?
Well, the big book says
This
that
is what people have said.
if the big book
We
says that
must
if
not go
that
where liquor is
why
served, which is almost everywhere these days. We must not have it in our home. That's optional. We must shun friends who drink. Yeah, go ahead.
oh well the big book does say that if that troubles anybody, then you have to go back and redo some other step. But if
Run that
those
by me again.
um
What'd you say, Loretta?
the big book does say but I don't know exactly where it's at. If Alisa, maybe you remember, it says that if anybody does have those feelings that they can't go to those places, then they have to redo a certain step.
Then
Yeah,
it's
we're
the
getting ready to
next,
come up on that. It says that
yeah,
if you can't do these things, then maybe you still have an alcoholic mind.
That's what I'm talking about. Yep.
yeah. So Marilyn, you want to come in and share?
Yeah.
Come on in, Marilyn.
Yeah, hi.
It's the next paragraph.
Wait.
And yeah,
Oh, I'm
right.
unmuted. I'm sorry. I'm looking to unmute. Okay, hi, I'm Marilyn. I'm an
Yeah, and
alcoholic.
it says that this is what people have said.
Hold on.
And
Hey, cousin.
this
Yeah.
was true
Yeah.
for some people, all of these things.
Well, here's what I'm getting out of it, starting from the very first line, assuming we are spiritually fit. That's very important. Assuming that we are spiritually fit when we go into that kind of a situation. Let's start there. Of course, if I'm fresh out of rehab, I'm not going to put myself in a position where alcohol is calling to me because I'm not spiritually fit. But I compare this to somebody with an eating disorder. They have a problem with food, but they have to go around. We have to be around food. Alcohol is becoming so prevalent. It's just like wherever there's food. So no, I totally don't agree with this because we have to be out with the living. And we can't be so consumed. I got I statements here. I can't be so consumed with alcohol that then it's paralyzing me. It's causing me a disability to be able to go anywhere. So it's based on my spiritual condition. So I have to be sure, that I'm doing, I'm following my program, I'm doing my steps. And then if I do get into a situation, then I am on guard and I can pick up the phone and call a sponsor or remove myself from that situation. If I'm going to go to a outing or a party or something that's may have a trigger at it, I'm going to make sure I have an escape route so that I don't get stuck in a situation. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Okay, thank you, Marilyn. Come on in, Lindsay. What do you think of this?
So if our obsession has been removed, we should be able to go around people, places, and things as long as there is a reason to actually be there. So if that's still disturbing us, then we need to
All
take
right,
it back to
thank
the
you
work,
so much.
right? You should be able to go anywhere and be around
Okay,
anything. Like it's none
so
of our concern whether other people are drinking around us or if there's alcohol or not, right? Because we're free of the obsession if we work the steps. Thanks for letting me share.
mhm.
All right, so yeah, he goes on. What do you think time-wise, cousin? It's 3:20. Do we want to?
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Okay. Now this is this is what people say. So then it goes on.
So, cousin?
Yeah, we could do this next paragraph
Yeah. Okay,
where
so
it says our experience as alcoholics says, our experience shows that this is not necessarily so. We meet these conditions every day. An alcoholic who cannot meet them still has an alcohol. Yeah, can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. I'm gonna finish this paragraph.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, that sounds good.
Can you hear me, Clyde?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. It says our experience shows that this is not necessarily so. We meet these conditions every day. An alcoholic who cannot meet them still has an alcoholic mind. There is something the matter. Yeah, there is something the matter with his spiritual status. His only chance for sobriety would be someplace like the Greenland ice cap. And even there, an Eskimo might show up with a bottle of scotch and ruin everything. Ask any woman who has sent her husband to distant places on the theory that he would escape the alcohol problem. In our belief, any scheme of combating alcoholism which proposes to shield the sick man from temptation is doomed to failure. If the alcoholic tries to shield himself, he may succeed for a time, but he usually winds up in a bigger explosion than ever. We have tried these methods. These attempts to do the impossible have always failed. Okay, let's stop right there. Clyde, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, I just read the whole paragraph.
Yeah, no, we heard the paragraph. Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna stop right there,
Yes.
and we'll pick up next week. So it tells us that our belief that any scheme of combating alcohol, which pursues that, which is that I'm going to shield myself from the temptation, is doomed for failure. And yeah, that's just the case for me. You guys know my story. When I came home from the detox, I went and I hid out in the house, and I thought that if I hid out in the house that I would make it, and eventually that drove me bad, and I was going to jump out the window so that I could drink, you know. So yeah, I couldn't hide from it. I couldn't lock myself away. I had to shit or get off the pot or go back out and drink and continue to kill myself, you know? So yeah, we can't hide from this thing, you know. If we got it, it's in us and it's gonna always manifest itself. That's why we gotta take these steps and put our higher power first in our lives so that he can guide us and so that we can be safe and protected all the time, you know? And that's the deal. So we'll pick up next week on the bottom of page 101.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get the closing script up. And this is going to end the study for today. And so thank you everyone for coming to Johnny and Clyde, the Rocketman Big Book Study. We meet 30 p.m. Eastern Time in this room. The podcast will be available by this Friday. Join us on Telegram for updates. Big Book, page 164. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize that we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously, you cannot transmit something that you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is a great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand him. Admit your faults to him and your fellows. Clear away the records of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in this fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road to happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then.
Amen.
We'll close this meeting with the Lord's Prayer, go into fellowship, and take it from there. So, who woke us up this morning?
Our Father,
Our Father,
who is in
Lord,
which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
thy
Thy
kingdom come,
Come,
thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us
give
this
us
day our
this day
daily
our
bread.
daily bread.
Forgive us our
Forgive our
trespasses,
trespasses,
As we
we
forgive those who
those
trespass
against
against us.
us.
lead us not into
Lead us not into
temptation,
temptation,
but
Deliver
deliver us
us
from
from
evil.
evil.
Thine is
Thine
the
is the
kingdom,
kingdom,
the power,
power,
and
and
the
the
glory
glory
forever and ever. Amen,
Amen.
amen, amen.
works if you work it.
Yes,
Thanks,
that's right.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
Great.